Hola chicos, in this video I'm just going to go through some of our conjugations from our warm-up today that should help you with your quiz. So I'm going to run through the ones that I think you should be able to get through without too much trouble. Spend a little bit more time on some of the more challenging ones. But anyways, here we have cree. This is not a Vin Diesel word, it's an affirmative command. So we just go to the third person singular conjugation, cree. Llevar, again, not a Vin Diesel one, so lleva, just regular conjugation. All right, lavarse to. Now, of course, we're in the to form. It's all we're working with right now. But now that it is a reflexive verb, and we know that because it ends in se, the se, that reflexive se, or that word se, the object pronoun se that's there, it just let us know that this is a reflexive verb. But we are in the to form. We're talking to someone that we speak with informally, so we are going to use the reflexive object pronoun that correlates, which is the word they. Now, let's come back to that in a second. But when we conjugate, we still don't use that in our conjugation just yet. We still form it based on lavar, and lavar is lava because it's a regular conjugation, not a Vin Diesel word. So lava is our conjugation. Now, with this word, whenever we have an affirmative command, we have to add our object pronouns to the end. So lavate is how we'll form this. Now, if I go back to our root verb here, lava, 2 syllables, lava. The first syllable is the stressed syllable, lava. The rule is the stressed syllable should be the second to last syllable. The second to last, it is, so we're good. No need for an accent mark. But when I add the te to it, it is now the same syllable is always going to be the stressed one. But now its relation to the end has changed. So we need to write an accent mark over that a, lavate. Now, if this were negative, just for the sake here, of course we'll start with no, meaning that's negative. What'll be different besides our verb conjugation is the te, the placement of it will be before our conjugated verb. I actually think this one comes up later on too, but in the negative. But the te goes before conjugated verbs attached to affirmative ones. All right, let's move on. So seguir, it's not a Vin Diesel one. It's a little tricky though because it is a stem changing verb, and that you does stick with it in the third person singular in the present tense. So sigue, venir. This is a Vin Diesel word. If you go through the the 8 words or the 8 conjugations that make up the Vin Diesel mnemonic, it's the first one. Ben, ti, sal, as, ten, ve, ponce, and salir. This is also in that mix. Ben, ti, sal, the informal command. Vestirse, again, we've got a reflexive verb. We can see that with the se there, meaning we need to keep the te with it. Again, this se just tells us it's reflexive, but the object pronoun is going to depend on what our subject is, and being that it's to, it's going to be te. And our conjugation is not a Vin Diesel one, so it is a stem changing verb. Viste, ida I, stem changing verb. There's your conjugation. We're good. The second to last syllable is stressed. Right there, that I is stressed. We're good. But we are going to add another syllable, the te, and we add it because it's an affirmative command, which means we actually need an accent mark on that I. Hard to see, but it's there. Maybe you can see it better now. All right, let me keep it a little bit larger, I guess, going forward. Now, if this were negative, again, remember that the no te would go before our conjugation, which is going to be formed a little bit differently because it's yo form, drop o, opposite ending s, right? At this point, you should be familiar with that. Okay, now we've got dormirse. We want to say, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I already have it conjugated for you. Duermete. This is, let me get rid of the accent mark for a second. We started off with duerme, but it's reflexive. So to fall asleep, we're saying fall asleep. We add the te to it. We put the accent mark on the e because it's duerme. So duermete, duerme. Duerme, the stress is on that e. When I don't have the te in there, there's no need for an accent mark. When I add a syllable, now it's the third from the last syllable that's stressed, so I need the accent mark there. All right, decirme. This is a Vin Diesel word. Decir. Remember, we're just working with decir. Now, this is not a reflexive verb. This is just you're given the indirect object pronoun here. So, not reflexive. So, first, let's start off with a conjugation. Decir it's a Vin Diesel word. Ven, di, it's the D right there. Now, when we have a Vin Diesel word or any of the conjugations that only have one syllable to it, we will not have to add an accent mark whenever we add one object pronoun. We will if we add two, but we're not doing that just yet. But when I add an object pronoun, and in this case, it's just simply me, dime. You know, di was the stressed syllable because it's the only syllable. And when I add another syllable with me, dime, di is still the stressed syllable, and it is the second to last syllable. So that's the rule. We don't need to write an accent mark. I'll do the negative one shows up later, as does this one. So Vin Diesel, yes it is. And this is be. Ben, di, sal, as, ten, be. This is that one. And then now it is reflexive again, so we add our object pronoun, vete. Now vete, again, two syllables. There's no need for an accent mark. And we'll do the negative one of this one later. All right, so here, now we're on to the negatives. We all start with no. This is yo form, tengo, drop the O. Opposite ending, it's an ER verb, so we add AS, no tengas. And here, dar, this is an irregular verb. If you go to the yo form, it's doy, which does not end in O, so we get rid of the, we can't get rid of the O at the end of it. So it's an irregular verb. And that one you just kind of have to remember, it becomes this. Now it does follow all the irregular verbs. If it doesn't end in O in the yo form, they still follow the rule of the opposite ending plus S. This is an AR verb, but it has an ES ending. Know this. Ser, again, yo form is soy, so it doesn't end in O, it doesn't follow the rules. We have to remember that it's no seas. Again, we've got AS at the end. It's an ER verb, so it's the opposite ending S again. All right, secarse. This one's a little tricky. It's reflexive, so we know if it's a reflexive verb, we're going to use the object pronoun te, and it's going to go before a conjugation whenever we have a negative command. It goes before. And this is secar, which we go to the yo form. We have that. We add the opposite ending. We'd have that. Problem is that will be pronounced seses or sethes, and we don't want to have that. So remember what happens with a car verb. You notice it might be a little bit hidden here because it's got the se with it as well, but this is secar, which is a car verb, which means it's a spell changing verb. That C actually becomes QU. Then you add ES, no te seques. And comer, no comas. AS ending, it's an ER verb, it's regular. Decirme, now we did the affirmative of this one earlier. We attached the me to the, so we have dime. But when it's negative, the me will go before the conjugated verb, which starts with digo, get rid of the O, and you end up with the AS because it's an IR verb. That's the opposite ending of an IR verb. No me digas. Irse, again, te, because it's reflexive, it goes before the conjugated verb. And this is also an irregular verb. If you go into the yo form, it's boy, does not end in O. Just have to remember it. It's bayas. Again, AS at the end, and it's an IR verb. All right, a few more. Traernos, so we're bringing something, to us, or we're telling someone to bring something to us. So nos is the indirect object pronoun. No object pronouns will go before the conjugation, so no nos, and then traigo is the yo form, drop the O, at the opposite ending, as no nos traigas. Dormirse, again, we did this earlier, no te duermas. No te duermas, we've got the te in front of it because it's a negative command. Always, always, always put the object pronoun before the conjugation when it's a negative command. No option with that. Affirmatives we attach, negatives go before. You're going to do that today on your quiz. It's important to to make sure you know where you're placing everything. And then last one, no llegues. This is already went and did it for you pretty quickly there, but that G is a GU instead of just G, because we want to preserve that G sound. Without it, it would make an H sound. But we recognize that because it ends in gar. Gar, car, sar. You gotta always recognize those. And yep, so that was me just trying to go through your quiz with you today, or your warm up today. If you needed some extra help with, before you take your quiz in a minute.